This video, another member has asked for some details on neutral markets. Now, I must put a caveat forward before I start. I don't trade neutral markets. At the moment, I only use them for hedging. It's just not something that's caught my eye. I'm sure there's an angle in, and we'll get to some strategy ideas at the end of the video. What are neutral markets? When I use neutral markets, and some strategies to trade those neutral markets. So let's take a look. What are neutral markets? Well, neutral markets are any markets in which both teams are working for you. So you don't have to pin your hopes on one specific side. You've got both teams doing the job for you. Some ideas of neutral markets, and there's a whole heck of a lot more. Lay the draw, all over under goals markets, laying a correct score, and both teams to score. But let me just take you through the Czech and Croatian coupon for this evening, and we'll show you additional neutral markets. So this is the Czech and Croatian league. It should have a decent set of markets accompanying it. Both teams to score. Yes, involves both teams. No, doesn't necessarily involve both teams, does it? It just involves one team not scoring. So I think both teams to score, yes, would just be on the cusp of being a neutral market, wouldn't it? Because I suppose both teams to score, yes, if either team scores, you can have a trading profit. So yes, both teams to score, yes, neutral. Moving our way down, correct score. Reason this is neutral. All you're looking for is a goal to be scored if you lay a correct score. One single goal to be scored to end that correct score. So in that regard, very, very neutral, isn't it? The correct score markets. The plus ones are not neutral. They require you to be choosing either or. First half goals is a neutral market. Backing over 0.5 goals, you just need one goal to be scored by either of these two teams. And that, very high odds, really, for an international. So it's suggesting a very tight 0-0 for a long period. First half goals, 1.5. Again, you've got both teams playing for you. If you're betting, you need 2 goals to be scored by either side in the first half, and you're up and running. Similar story, first half goals, 2.5. The half-time markets are also neutral. Lay the draw covers both teams. All it takes is one team to score before half-time. Half-time score, the usual route for me would be laying the 0-0 in the half-time score market. That again involves both teams. It doesn't matter who scores. That's, I think, the essence of neutral. It doesn't matter who scores. Match odds market, laying the draw. Again, covers both teams. And I've got an interesting lay the draw idea for a one-a-day lay the draw. But I need more matches under my belts. But the initial results are very encouraging. Have a look at the Bet and Go video, which I'll be posting this week on YouTube. And the archetypal neutral markets are all here for you. Over 0.5 all the way to 8.5. All neutral. Just involves goal totals. It doesn't involve an interest in one specific team over the other. Goals totals, that's all we're after for these. So very, very good neutral markets, aren't they? And that's it, really. Those are the main neutral markets. So as a reminder, lay the draw involves both teams. Over and under goals markets involves both teams. Both teams to score, yes, involves both teams to score. Both teams to score? No, it's not as neutral, as it requires one team at least to not score. Laying a correct score involves both teams. For me, I would apply neutral market strategies to leagues and teams I simply cannot trust. I call these my Arthur Daly leagues and teams. Would you buy a motor off these teams? No, I wouldn't. Totally untrustworthy. Some leagues, though, do shower us with goals, despite the, in inverted commas, quality of teams like Mjøndalen, Skyder, Moss, etc., etc. Leagues suited to neutral markets include any lower tier league and any league in which there's a reputation for goals. Leagues suited to neutral markets, consistent over 2.5 goal patterns. English Professional Development League, English Premier League 2, Bundesliga 2, Dutch Eredivisie, Dutch Eerste Divisie. Any recognisable leagues with 60+% over 2.5 goals at soccerstats.com's over 2.5 goal table. So let's take a look at that table now. So if you go off to soccerstats.com, there are other sites like footystats.org that have good 2.5 goal pattern. What I do here, I go to the leagues, I sort by 2.5 plus, as you can see here, and then I just look down for any recognisable and tradable league. Swiss Super League should be on your roster now, 77% over 2.5 goals. So for a neutral player, the Swiss Super League is one of the very tradable leagues. A lot of these are lower tier sides, but you know these recognisable ones I've mentioned many times. English Premier League 2, 76% of their matches have been over 2.5 goals. Why do I keep mentioning the English Professional Development League? 75% of their matches so far this season, 76 of them over 2.5 goals. Quite superb stuff there. And as we work our way down, some other leagues you might know: Israeli Liga Ha'al, Maccabi Tel Aviv, Hapoel Beersheva, all hail to the ale, and other teams such as that. Dutch Eredivisie, familiar names, aren't they? And off the top of my head, you'll see my list marries very tightly with those with very strong percentages. Mine was just off the top of my head from my experience. So you work your way down, probably stopping off at about 60%. But you can see there's plenty of opportunity. Finnish Viscountliga as well, eminently tradable league, 2/3 of their matches over 2.5 goals. So make your life easy. Focus on leagues where you're expected a large proportion of the matches to finish over 2.5 goals. Polish 1 League as well. And we're getting near to the 60% now, which would be my cut-off point. And a lot of these leagues you can't trade. Bundesliga, 61%. And that's the cut-off. So you can see there's plenty of recognisable leagues in the upper echelons of the 2.5 goals tables. And my list mirrors what I just passed on to you exactly, doesn't it, really? Professional Development League, Premier League 2, Bundesliga 2, Eredivisie and Dutch Eerste Divisie. Just straight off the top of my head and vindicated by the stats at soccerstats.com. Any recognisable league with 60% plus over 2.5 goals at soccerstats.com. Of course, not every match is going to be over 2.5 goals. Do a little bit extra research to ensure that the two teams you're involved with today, both scoring and both conceding, both have good 2.5 goal records, both teams to score records, etc. Strategies for neutral markets. Now, this is problematic because I don't trade neutral markets at the moment. I use neutral markets for hedging for insurance purposes. Here's some ideas. So we've got our previous list from the last slide. In any over 2.5 goal match, I like to wait for 20 minutes just to create a little bit of value. If it's 0-0 after 20 minutes, I would back over 2.5 goals and I'd look to cash out if I can get a goal before half time. So I think in another video, we'll be looking at 2.5 goal first half goals vitally important for the trader, I think. In any over 2.5 goal match, if one goal has been scored in the first half, I would back over 2.5 goals in the second half and cash out with just that second goal being scored. So we're not looking for 3 goals as traders. We're looking for the hint that there will be 3 goals. I can't show you this in the real world because it's the international break at the moment and quality examples are very sparse. But read it again. So you've got your over 2.5 goal match from your list. You've checked it's from an over 2.5 goal league. Now you've just done a little bit of check at soccerstats.com and you've seen that both sides have a very good 2.5 goal record. But if it's 0-0 after 20 minutes, the 2.5 goal odds are going to be far greater value. I would look to be backing then. In this particular instance, you're looking for a goal before half time to cash out. So do bear in mind the first half goal stats. With the second strategy, I like this one. You've got the option as well in the second strategy. You're in an over 2.5 goal match. If one goal has been scored in the first half, check the over 1.5 goals odds for the second half, likely to be too short. But the over 2.5 goal odds could be pretty decent. But don't forget, a third of your target has already been reached in the first half. All you need now is a goal between the 46th and the 70th minute to be scored, and you can have a trading profit. So hopefully I can start employing some of these hedging techniques as well, and we can see how they work. But it's not, as I say, a pair of strategies that I use currently. I prefer to be a reactive trader. I'd rather react to what's happening in play rather than trying to preempt 3 goals in a single match. Other strategies, lay the draw. I've got a possible bet and go lay the draw strategy for you. Looking very promising indeed. Completely and utterly neutral. I also tend to lay the draw most when it's a draw at half time, either a 1-1 or preferably a 0-0. Time and time again, the underdog has scored the goal to end the draw. But because we're neutral players, that doesn't necessarily matter. There are certain competitions I would recommend you take a neutral look. EFL Trophy, for example. 1.42 favourite loses, but there was 4 goals in the match. That kind of a thing. You will in the cup get some potential upsets. 1.85 favourite loses 3-1. But from a neutral perspective, over 2.5 goals came in. So I would use EFL Trophy, certainly. Professional Development League, brilliant for neutral plays, isn't it? Mentioned it time and time again. I would also be looking at these lower tiers where I can't necessarily trust the teams because I don't know enough about them and the quality of football is not the best. If you can look at leagues like the First Division in Denmark, which has a reputation for goals. English League 2, certain matches which hint at goals. What I also do in these lower tiers, if a strong favourite is conceded first, I might go over 2.5 goals rather than look for the equaliser from the favourite. Any of these lower tiers, the Superettan, the Norwegian First Division, leagues you wouldn't trust or you don't know the teams that well, or they have a reputation for not quite delivering when you want. So let's have a look at the First Division and you'll see that goals are the tendency. You can see, bar this one. Asani and Mjøndalen was an example in a recent live stream. Mjøndalen scored first. They're the underdog. Asani, very strong favourite, but I don't know anything about them. Go neutral and look at the final result, 2-3. And look at how that got over 2.5 goals by half time as well. A complete surprise because the away side, who are awful, Mjøndalen, actually made it 1-2 at half time. then made it 1-3. Now, if you were trusting Asane, the odds-on favourite at home, you would have lost your money. You'd have lost your dough trusting a side. But as a neutral player, you'd have been rewarded because Mjøndalen delivering. You get these surprises time and time again, but we get some one-way traffic there. So that's something for you to think about, these lower leagues. Swedish Superettan, Norwegian First Division, Dutch Eerste Divisie, Spanish La Liga 2, Bundesliga 2, Danish Super League, Danish First Division, English Championship, English League 1, English League 2, Belgian Jupiler League, that kind of thing. Austrian Bundesliga is very good for neutral plays. Swiss Super League, you've seen 70+% over 2.5 goals. So that's how I would play the neutral markets myself. It would be a specific focus in leagues that I don't trust. So I hope this neutral discussion gives you something to think about, and I'll be working on finding some examples for those strategies for you. But as I say, I don't have any current examples. It's not a technique I use, trading neutral markets. I've never done it, but it's certainly something to put on the roster, particularly if we can find some rule-based systems. Do please remember the other videos that are available. I'll be downloading Bet and Go strategies, looking at backing 0-0 in the half-time market, working very well at the moment, and laying the draw potentially, a single Bet and Go lay the draw. That's got significant promise. I've also done a video for another member who wanted in-play stat scanner first half goals set up and late second half goals set up. Which stats, what parts of the in-play stat scanner stats do you need for those kind of techniques? So do look out for those. Do stay in touch if you've got any other strategies you want to discuss or you want me to expand upon. Please get in touch. But this is the discussion on neutral markets. I hope you'll find something from it. If you've got any ideas on how to exploit these neutral markets, do please get in touch.